Brutus has a very interesting take on the general welfare clause. So even though we didn't look at Madison's defense, I just want to bring that up very, very quickly. This is Brutus's argument. It is an important question whether the general government of the United States should be so framed as to absorb and swallow up the state governments, or whether, on the contrary, the former ought not to be confined to certain defined objects, national objects, while the latter should retain all the powers which concern the internal police of the state. So he's going to argue that the Constitution goes too far. Even as the Federalists will say, but nothing's happened yet. We give them a bunch of powers, but they say it's very hard to use these powers. So before anything is truly in effect, he's saying that the Constitution has too much of a threat against the states individually. I have in my former papers offered a variety of arguments to prove that a simple free government could not be exercised over this whole continent, and that therefore we must give up our liberties and submit to an arbitrary one or frame a constitution on the plan of confederation. So the question, therefore, I'm going to skip around, between us is whether or not the system is so formed as either directly to annihilate state governments or that in its operation it will certainly affect it. When they say the internal police, when he says it, the police, he doesn't really mean the police. What does he mean? He means just regular policy that states control, again, over social life, education, economic security, and criminal law. Now he's going to talk more specifically about the general welfare. The general government, he says, is to be vested with an authority to levy and collect taxes, duties, and excises. The separate states also have power to impose taxes, duties, and excises, except that they cannot lay duties on exports and imports without the consent of Congress. Here, then, the two governments have concurrent jurisdiction. Both may lay impositions of this kind. But then the general government have superadded to this power authority to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for going into execution. Suppose then that both governments should lay taxes, duties, and excises. It should fall so heavy on the people they would be unable, or it would be so burdensome that they would refuse to pay them. So what is he saying here? Is this still true, by the way, that states and the federal government can collect taxes at the same time?
Yes.
Yes. How many taxes do you pay? A lot. There are local taxes that are sometimes levied on property, or extra sales taxes. You pay county taxes, school board taxes, state taxes, federal taxes. What is if this exists, what is his fear then? So people are taxed a lot, but why would that necessarily harm the states?
Cost them their revenue.
Yes, that it's going to harm individuals and how they spend their money. He's going to go on to say, he's going to use some scare tactics. Cider. Okay. Will they tax cider? What about porter, ale, and all kinds of malt liquors? Why is he saying this? In other words, the Federalist Papers you might think are elevated language, but they're really just political scare tactics, just on both sides. So he says at one point that it'll even follow ladies into their toilet, about how personal the taxation system will be. Why would he say all this when he's reading the Constitution? It's 1787, nothing's happened yet. What is he so afraid of? Why does he think the Constitution is going to deeply go into everybody's individual lives?
Because it doesn't prevent it from happening.
Exactly. So Michael's right. They don't say it can't happen, do they? In other words, is there a limit to what the United States can do if it has the majorities to do it and the voters who will support it? The Constitution does not have a limit. And that's the scare tactic he's using. Now, would anyone like to argue that a Constitution should have firm limits? And so, by the way, going into the end of it, he's going to say that the general welfare clause is the hook to make anything happen. what wouldn't be counted under there, plus the necessary or proper clause. That's why I brought this up today. So, back to the outline for just a moment, and then we'll get into a more of a modern attack. So, what he's saying here under C is that he's seeing an alarm that the government is going to be all encompassing.